back to the channel. It's CD here again, and I wanted to do another quick video with you all and take you through my thoughts on the Surface Book 2 laptop. Alright, so let's get into it. I've been using the Surface Book 2 laptop since 2020. And it's crazy that it's been 5 years because honestly, I feel like I just got this laptop last year. For most of that time, it's been my primary laptop that I've used for pretty much everything, mostly work and school. And honestly, I've gotten a lot of great value out of the laptop and it's served me really well. Around the time that I got the laptop, I think it ran for around $2,000, which honestly is a lot of money. I think if you were to buy the laptop today, it'd run you around just under $300, if you get a good deal online. Now, I never had to really push the laptop when it came to things like streaming or high-level video editing, but I will say over the last year or so, I've been getting into a lot more of that, and that's where I've noticed that it does have a lot of limitations. The Surface Book 2 comes with two 3.0 USB ports, which I really appreciate because you don't need any external accessories. I know a lot of modern laptops are kind of moved away from this where they're using USB-C, i.e. a lot of MacBooks particularly, where I think it's just nice to have, and I think it's very refreshing to already have these ports built into the computer. That way you don't have to worry about any external adapters. And I'm specifically somebody that's always connecting to various things, whether it's different keyboards, mouses, to my laptop, where it's just easy to do if I have like a direct USB port. Another plus as well is that it has a dedicated SD card slot. And I know for me, I'm transferring files pretty often, and having a dedicated SD card slot is really important. And I'm able to, transfer files pretty easily without having to need, an external adapter or some type of device to, transfer. And when it comes to the display on this laptop, the display is absolutely insane. I think the best quality about this laptop, you get a 2000 by 3000p resolution display. So everything is just super sharp, really crisp, vibrant images. And I've definitely noticed this when using this laptop, and it's really stood out to me. Honestly, because it's a 2-in-1 laptop, so you're able to use it as a tablet. I'm very nervous to even use it as a tablet because the display is so nice. I'm just so scared that I'm gonna mess around and break the display somehow, some way. And this display is just really too nice to even risk it. As for charging, it uses Microsoft's signature Surface Connect charger, which is decent, but I have to say I'm shocked at how long the cable has lasted. It's a very super thin cable, and I've always expected it to wear out over time, but somehow it's still going strong. So I can't really complain too much, to be quite honest, but it is a very thin cable. The laptop features a 15-inch display, which is really nice, especially if you're somebody that wants more of that real estate to watch videos, movies, those sort of things. But when you're looking at a laptop that's primarily for productivity, trying to get work done, if you're even transporting it around, you probably wouldn't want something that large. It'd probably make more sense to get something a little bit more compact. And this is just my personal preference, to be quite honest. But it's a 15-inch display. I think the ideal display size would probably be more around 13 inches for a laptop. And it's also 4.2 pounds, which quite honestly is on the heavier side when it comes to laptops. I've noticed specifically with this one, it just feels very top heavy. And I actually have it mounted on a laptop stand, and I've always just felt like it just weighs a little bit too much. I think this is a factor of it being a 2-in-1 laptop, especially because you can use it as a tablet as well as a laptop, and it just feels a little bit heavier than it probably should. I think the bulkiness is probably one of the downsides when it comes to this specific laptop. Personally, I think a lighter, more portable laptop would really be a better fit. I think when you think about just like what the purpose of a laptop is supposed to be, you want something that's, easy to transport, compact, and it just makes more sense to have something that's a little bit lighter. This laptop is definitely not on the lighter, small side. From a performance standpoint, it uses an i7 chip as well as a GTX 1060 GPU, which I think is solid, especially because you're getting a dedicated graphics card with this laptop, which is really good. It comes with 16 gigabytes of memory, which is pretty standard for most laptops. However, the storage is very limited, where you only get 256 gigabytes. And so I know in my case, I found myself having to use an external SSD because I'm transferring a lot of files. I just need a lot more space, and 256 is not enough to be quite honest. I've been able to do a lot of performance heavy stuff like video editing in DaVinci Resolve, as well as a little bit of streaming and some mid-level gaming. I will say though, this laptop is very limited, so while it can do a lot of those things, it can't really do those things at a very high level. So you really got to keep that in mind, and I've definitely noticed that over the past year or so with using this laptop and doing some more high level thing. And to be fair, this laptop wasn't designed for doing a lot of pro level work. If you're doing a lot of high level 4K video editing, playing high level games, or even streaming, I would stay away from this laptop and look at some of the other options that are out there. But this laptop is really designed for the average person that just needs a everyday functional laptop to do the basic stuff they needed to do. And with that said, I think it makes sense because this laptop is really designed at the average user who wants to be able to use something that's functional and that can do everything. Now, if you're familiar with this laptop, you'll notice that one of the standout features for this laptop is that it has touchscreen as well as a detachable display, because as I mentioned earlier, it is a 2-in-1 laptop. So you're able to use it not only as a laptop, but you can use it as a basic tablet to watch movies, videos, and those types of things. However, I know this sounds good, but this is where a lot of the issues for this laptop arise from, to be quite honest. Now, it sounds good to be able to just press a button and detach the display so that you can do all your work that you want to do. But to be quite honest, I never really use it. I just don't think the trade-offs for having a detachable display are worth it. And as I mentioned earlier, this is a much heavier laptop than what you would normally see out there. However, the laptop is only connected by 2 magnets, and so it leads to a lot of connection issues with the laptop, where if you have any type of wobbling or if the display moves, you can lose connection to the keyboard. These connection issues have led to a lot of issues that I've noticed related to even like the GPU. And it's nice to have a dedicated GPU, but it sucks when you can't even use it. And because this laptop sometimes loses connection, one of the things that I've noticed is it won't even be able to recognize its own dedicated GPU, which is very, very unfortunate. And it sucks, especially if you're doing a lot of high processing work, or even like playing games and stuff like that, and you just can't even use a GPU that you have. That's just the most frustrating thing to kind of deal with. So yeah, the detachable screen sounds like a good idea, but quite honestly, the positives just don't outweigh the negatives that are caused by it. Not being able to rely on a GPU that you're supposed to have, it's just super unfortunate with this laptop. And quite honestly, it just sucks knowing that you have the hardware, but you just can't use it. Now, one of the other major downsides on top of the connectivity issues has been the battery life for this laptop. Now, when I first got it, the battery life seemed to be pretty decent, where I was giving, I would say, at least like a full day of use with using the laptop without needing any type of charger. However, now I've noticed a significant decline in the battery performance, where I only get around 2 to 3 hours now without charging it, and that honestly kind of sucks. And this is a huge problem if you're somebody that's constantly on the go, or if you're traveling a lot. I've noticed with using this laptop, I pretty much always have to have it connected to some external power source, which quite honestly I think defeats the purpose of it being a portable laptop. Now overall, there's a lot to like about the Surface Book 2 laptop, and it served me well over the last couple years. As I mentioned, the display is fantastic. You get all the hardware that you need ultimately. But at the end of the day, the laptop does have a lot of flaws that I know I'm not the only one that is experiencing them. There's a lot of people within the Microsoft community that have expressed concerns, especially related to like the connectivity problems, as well as the battery life issues that just make it not the best laptop, and not a laptop that I would recommend buying in 2025. But like I mentioned earlier, you gotta really think about, who is the laptop designed for? And I think if you're somebody that, is just kind of an everyday, use kind of person, you just need something to kind of get the job done, it makes sense. And, it's a good laptop to kind of do, all your basic stuff. But if you're looking to kind of get to that next tier, to do, high level or pro level things, then it probably isn't the laptop to get, especially with a lot of the competitor laptops and even like the newer Surface laptops that are currently out there, I wouldn't recommend buying it today. And that pretty much concludes everything for this video. Be sure to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Let me know your thoughts. You know, if you have any recommendations on the other laptops that are currently out there, I like to hear from you guys, and we'll catch you on the next video. Peace.